Here we are. O Lord, how great are thy works, and thy thoughts are very deep. This is the basis of this presentation, and it can be found in the book of Psalm chapter 92 and verse 6. You are warmly invited to join us now. God's creation had been wonderfully preconceived to the minutest detail, and there is a purpose and a deep meaning to each single part of it. Here are two examples out of the great treasure of God's wisdom to clarify this. First example. Why do we have eyebrows? There are three possible reasons. Reason number one. Eyebrows, a sign of beauty. Women paint their eyebrows where they're missing. Reason number two. Eyebrows protect from salty sweat or water, which would otherwise run from the forehead into the eyes. They form a barrier which diverts the water around the eyes. There could be another reason. Eyebrows and eyes let you recognize somebody's identity. If the media want to hide someone's identity, they cover that person's eyes and eyebrows. Second example. Why do flowers differ so richly in shape, color, and scent? Mainly to make the world colorful, magnificent, and beautiful. The air we breathe is enriched with diverse pleasant scents to select insects searching flowers for food. If it were not for that selection, all insects would crowd in upon the same flower. But insects choose flowers according to their kind, programmed by the Creator. Their search for food is influenced by the color, shape, and scent of the flower. Thy thoughts are very deep, O Lord. Each one of God's commandments, as described in the Bible, has a purpose and a great and deep meaning. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. It's the fourth commandment of God's moral laws. It contains the 6-day work week and the seventh day, the Sabbath, as a day of rest for the believer and everybody in his house. Can Saturday be forgotten? Hardly. Most of the time the calendar we use causes us not to forget it, but the preparation for that day of the Lord can be forgotten. What else is included in that commandment beside the rule not to work and to rest? What are the deep and tremendous thoughts of the Lord will we find in this commandment? Beside resting from our daily work on the Sabbath day, it causes a very closer encounter with the Creator. For He, God, calls the Sabbath days His holy days. It is the endeavor of this preparation to introduce the viewer to this special encounter with the Creator. It is common custom for people to greet each other when they meet. In all parts of the world, among the civilized as well as the uncivilized part of the earth, people greet each other and say goodbye to each other in their own ways. The fourth commandment ends with the words, "For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it." Thus, this commandment connects the Sabbath day with the act of creation. Furthermore, we are being made aware of a fact in creation which is of far-reaching importance. In order to put the Sabbath day in the right time frame, we need to clarify when that day begins. Before a new day begins, the previous one ends. Does it end with the setting of the sun? Were the chickens going to sleep, or does it end at midnight? In this study we are interested in the calculation according to the Bible. Every creation day is being introduced by, and the evening and the morning were the first day, the second, the third, and so on. According to this, a new 24-hour day begins at the evening, not at midnight as it is commonly in the world today. This is how the first day began, as did the second, the sixth, the 1000th, and today. But when does evening start? Although the Bible doesn't expressly point to the setting of the sun, there are several verses that do so. For example, Mark 1, beginning in verse 21, here an incident is told that took place on the Sabbath day. It can be understood as a definition of evening. We read, "And they went into Capernaum, and straightway on the Sabbath day he entered the synagogue and taught." It continues in verse 32, describing an event that took place at the end of the Sabbath day. "And at evening, when the sun did set, they brought into him all that were diseased and them that were possessed with devils, and he healed many that were sick." Sabbath keepers in these days would not have done that on a Sabbath day. It is obvious that every new day, including the Sabbath day, the day of the Lord, begins with the setting of the sun. In Leviticus 23 verse 32 it says, "From evening unto even shall ye celebrate your Sabbath." We read in Psalm 148 verse 5, "Let them praise the name of the Lord, for he commanded and they were created." After the Friday, on which man was created, came the Sabbath, a holy day of the Lord, on which all creation was to praise their Creator. Especially man, who is above animals due to his higher understanding, has many reasons to admire his Creator, as did Adam once when he saw the startling beauty of nature. The astonishment that Adam and Eve once felt ought to be complemented by a deep gratitude, for our experience with God is so much greater today. They who look closely at every day of the past week surely have good reasons to thank Him for all blessings they have experienced during the week when they have that special encounter with God on the Sabbath. What does all this have to do with the setting of the sun? And where lies God's tremendously deep thought regarding the beginning of the Sabbath day? When the sun sets on Friday and all necessary shopping and work is done, including cooking for the Sabbath, cleaning the house and personal hygiene, the faithful Sabbath keepers begin the Sabbath day. In a certain way, he reports to the Creator with the words, "Here I am." He meets and greets his Lord with songs of praise, thanksgivings and admiration of his works, which he had encountered the previous week. He takes his time for this encounter. Especially in the family, this time can be arranged and experienced as the most valuable time of the week, which will be kept forever in the hearts of the children. And a little later, the same procedure will be carried out by those who live farther to the west. After sundown, they also praise God with songs and prayers, and they deal with God's miracles. And so follow all others with this praise when the sun sets at their locations. The faithful Sabbath keepers join at their time the solemn chain of praise which spans the whole globe. This event lasts for about 24 hours.
dauert weltweit 24 Stunden lang.
After 24 hours, the end of the Sabbath day takes place for the first Sabbath keepers of this world-spanning chain.
Sozusagen der Abschied.
Again, everybody reports with these words, "Here I am." And the whole event starts from the beginning. Again to the west, a lasting praise of faithful Sabbath keepers spread over the whole globe, which lasts for 24 hours. In this manner, every week, and especially intense obeisance emanates from our earth toward our great God, Creator, Upholder, and Redeemer. This glorious work goes on for 48 hours every week and was made possible only because our Creator had introduced the change of days with the setting of the sun. Thy thoughts are very deep, O Lord. This monumental work has an even deeper meaning. The Bible tells us about our planets in the universe that are inhabited. Therefore, rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Revelation 12, verse 12. All the inhabitants of the cosmos have the same unchangeable law of God. So, we can assume that their inhabitants have their work days and their Sabbath day, which also begins with the sun down. They too, I believe, welcome their Creator with glorious songs of praise. Please bear in mind that the different planets are of different sizes and that they have different lengths in revolution. When you consider all this, you come to the conclusion that the Sabbath day doesn't begin at the same time in the universe. Also, throughout the whole universe, there is a constant, gigantic praise sounding towards the unconceivable, mighty, loving, and eternal God. Even more truth lies in the lead verse, "Thy thoughts are very deep, O Lord." The constant repetition of the songs of praise at the beginning and the end of the Sabbath day causes an additional overdimensional frequency, a vibration that emanates. As you probably know, a certain spectrum of vibration is audible as sound. A human being at a specific age can hear from approximately 16 Hz to 20 Hz. Some animals have frequencies that lies beneath or beyond the human limit. We can assume that God can hear all frequencies, even the ones that a human being cannot hear. We can therefore conclude that the numerous planets on which their inhabitants offer their songs of praise send out an additional melody. We can also assume that God created and arranged the planets in a fashion that they built a monumental concert, the score of which was written by God Himself. This conclusion comes from looking at the Bible text and knowledge of sound engineering. We leave it upon you, the viewer, whether or not you agree with this or these conclusions. In the book of Job, God the Creator speaks. Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, "Who is this that darkeneth counsel by words without knowledge? Gird up now thy loins like a man, for I will demand of thee, and answer thou me. Where wast thou when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if thou hadst understanding. Who hath laid the measures thereof if thou knowest? Or who hath stretched the line upon it? Whereupon are the foundation thereof fastened? Or who laid the cornerstone thereof? When the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy." And King David shouted, "It is a good thing to give thanks unto the Lord and to sing praises unto thy name, O Most High, to show forth thy loving kindness in the morning and thy faithfulness every night, upon an instrument of 10 strings and upon the psaltery, upon the harp, with a solemn sound. For thou, Lord, hast made me glad through thy work. I will triumph in the work of thy hands." And now, dear viewer, where were you when you were up to join the monumental concert at the beginning of the Sabbath day? Where were you when the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted with joy? Were you still doing your shopping, preparing the meals for the Sabbath day? Maybe you were still cleaning the house or taking a bath. Perhaps you were on your vacation trip, or simply using the road to visit someone. It is written, 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. And furthermore it says, bake what you will bake today, and boil what you will boil. 6 days you shall gather it, or go shopping. But on the seventh day, which is the Sabbath, in it there shall be none. Had you prepared a holy atmosphere? Were you about to receive God's special blessing He promised His faithful Sabbath keepers? Isaiah speaks in chapter 58, verse 13 to 14. If thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, from doing thy pleasure in my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of the Lord, honorable, and shall honor him, not doing thine own ways, nor finding thine own pleasure, nor speaking thine own words, then shalt thou delight thyself in the Lord. And I will cause thee to ride upon the high places of the earth, and feed thee with the heritage of Jacob thy father, for the mouth of the Lord hath spoken it. Remember the encounter with the God of love on the holy Sabbath day. Wherever you are at sundown, do not forget to praise the Lord in time and say, Here I am.